I can't tell you how many times I heard, oh man, Pressure sucks. I used to love Wage War, but now it's just radio rock, sellout, bullshit. And on this episode of Shredheads, we're gonna unpack what happened and Pressure and why it was necessary for Manic to succeed. I'm Jordan Needham, this is J-Ham Entertainment, and welcome to this episode of Shredheads. Wage War's new album, Manic, came out last Friday or Thursday night, I believe, and I actually checked it out. I reacted to a few tracks, and man, I was actually fairly impressed, and I think it's fair to say that most of their fan base is too. Death roll! Oh! Oh! Now, I did a poll on my YouTube community tab. About 119 people took this poll the last time I checked. 53% said that this album exceeded expectations, something like 48. I don't know, something like 40-some% said that it's okay but better than Pressure, and then a very, very small percent said that it's a letdown. So I know it's only 119 people, but as you can see in these results, I feel like that's pretty overwhelming. If it was closer, I would maybe not use this as any evidence, but I also have an ear for the community as a whole. I'm in their social media pages, their comment sections, looking around. My friends are into this band, and honestly, I haven't heard too much negativity around Wage War's new album Manic so far, which leads me to believe, while it may not be the perfect album, it's definitely a win, and it's definitely a win compared to Pressure. The biggest complaint I'm seeing around this album is actually that a lot of the tracks, not that they're bad, they just sound really generic, and I think it is fair to say on a few of those, like Slow Burn, probably one of them. The album as a whole, I feel like a lot of the choruses are kind of just the song title, if you get what I'm saying. Manic is an example of that. Slow Burn is an example of that. There are a lot of those. I think this whole conversation around what is generic metalcore and what isn't, I should probably just make a video on that overall. A lot of times I get the feeling that people are just gonna say something is generic no matter what. There's always that fan that is commenting that on everything, dude. It's a genre. I don't really know what else to say. Now, I know that there's a good amount of people that actually did appreciate the album Pressure, and I do think that there were some good songs on there that were actually kind of underrated, but it just wasn't really Wage War's roots. So Wage War kind of lost a bit of their fan base when they made that album. The heavy side of their fan base was scared that they were gonna go full butt rock or full radio rock or whatever you want to call it, dad rock, and I could understand those fears, right? Because there were a lot of these generic kind of poppy choruses and just not much flavor to the album, and I think it's fair to say that it hasn't aged like Deadweight or Blueprints has. But again, I'm not saying it's a horrible album, but the general narrative out there for Wage War fans is it's not nearly as good as their first two records, and I would agree with that. So Manic comes out, and like I said, it's a win. Now, I don't want to go through this track by track and do some album review, so I'm gonna make this a little bit more unique. I think that Wage War's album Pressure was necessary for Manic to succeed. What do I mean by that? Well, you see this a lot with bands, right? They put out this questionable album where they kind of start experimenting a little bit. They start going in a different direction, and it scares their fan base. It might attract more fans, but it scares their roots away. Wage War did that with Pressure, but I don't think this was necessarily a pure sellout move. I don't think that they were doing this just say, hey, we should write a record that'll sell out arenas and get us on Octane 24/7 and all that. I really don't think that's the case most of the time anyways with these bands. I think that it's likely that these bands just like hard rock as well, and sometimes they want to make a hard rock album with some breakdowns in it. I think that's kind of what happened here, but also the band needed to find a way to mix its clean, softer side with its heavier, kind of genty side. And I really don't think Pressure was as far out of left field as some people think it was. Like, the narrative is that it was just so out of this world, soft, never could have seen this coming, when I don't know if you just forgot that the song Gravity exists, or that like Don't Let Me Fade Away has extremely clean chorus. It's awesome. I love that song, and most Wage War fans do. Obviously though, Don't Let Me Fade Away had a lot of heavy parts in it too, so that was kind of like the thing when they just went full clean. That's kind of where people were like, nah, you lost me, bro. But my point is, you hear in the album Pressure that they are experimenting with other sounds. They're kind of pushing their limits, trying to gauge where their fan base will allow them to go without completely just abandoning their fan base and just saying, oh, we're doing lo-fi beats or something bullshit. They stayed within kind of the genre's confines and tried to experiment, see what their fans do like and don't like. And then I think that that they mixed their pressure, their pressure feedback with their older feedback as well, and tried to come up with something that's a mix of the two, and that's what we got. We got Manic, and I think it is a mix of those two. It's got the cleans, it's got songs like Circle the Drain, which I think is one of their best clean songs that they've made. Of course, you can't forget about Cody's cleans. That's kind of the struggle, right? You don't want to just go full on with the screams from Britain. You want to actually incorporate both of them, and you can't just keep making Deadweight and Blueprints. You got to do something else. So they did, and they experimented with producing as well. There's definitely a lot more producing kind of tricks going on in the album Pressure, and now you can hear that carried over to the album Manic as well, which I think is certainly their best produced album so far. There's a lot of really cool things going on in there, and it definitely adds to the experience. You know, it almost, I don't want to say this in a bad way, but because producing keeps getting so much better, it almost puts the old producing to shame, and it's kind of hard to listen to older albums nowadays, even albums from like 5-10 years ago especially. Not that Deadweight and Blueprints were horribly produced or anything like that, it's just the technology has gotten so much better. It's just better on Manic, right? Enough said. So my point of making this whole video is just to say that whether you think Manic is an amazing album, better than Deadweight, better than Blueprints, with their best album, or it's just as good as Pressure, or whatever it is, I do think that if you're an original Wage War fan and also a new fan from Pressure, you both have something to be excited about. With songs like Manic, which is probably their most unique track ever, and I think it's gonna age pretty well actually, and then there's songs like Death Roll on their new album, which is possibly their heaviest track ever, and I think will go down as potentially their best track ever. Personally, it's right up there with Stitch and The River and tracks like that for me, and then also Circle the Drain features some really good cleans. We had True Colors, which as well had great breakdowns in it. Relapse, same thing. I think this album gives everybody from the heavy side to the softer, cleaner side something to be excited for, and even with Britain coming out doing that kind of rapping thing on Manic, Wage War definitely has an exciting future, and I'm actually proud to say that I do enjoy the album Manic. I hope you do too. So let me know what your thoughts are on the album Manic. You can go ahead and take that poll as well. Is it better than Pressure? Did you like Pressure? I know that a lot of people do like Pressure actually. What is your favorite Wage War album? Just continue this discussion in the comments below, because I know that a lot of people said that Pressure sucked, which I think was pretty harsh. I don't think it's necessarily fair to say it that way. I just think it was like kind of a mid album. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this or reactions to songs like Death Roll, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you never miss a time when I upload. And as always, I'm your boy Jordan Needham. This has been Shredheads on J-Ham Entertainment, and I will catch you next time.